do goldfish get lonely? Or really the essence of this question is, can I keep a goldfish by themselves or do I need them to have friends? And it really comes down to this. Goldfish are not schooling fish. But if they're by themselves, they can get bored and lethargic. So if you do have a goldfish by themselves, you do want to provide other types of enrichment. Change the layout of the tank, change the food you're feeding them, interact with them. But the solution is not buy a second goldfish. I've seen it many times. A person with a small tank gets one goldfish, they're worried it's lonely, so they get a second goldfish in that small tank. That increase of waste and poop in that small tank is actually going to be worse for the fish than just staying by itself, being lonely. So before you go buy your fish a new friend, try to increase enrichment in other ways first. And if it doesn't work, make sure the tank has the space to take on a friend. Otherwise, it's better to just leave the one goldfish by themselves. Quarantine new fish. As with everything, there's not one right way to do it. The most important thing is just that you quarantine at all. For me, it's about extra clean water, close observation, low light, low food intake, and maybe a little aquarium salt. For example, this is my new fish, Snowball. He looked perfectly healthy at the pet store. But once I got him and put him in quarantine, I was doing water changes every day, medication, no salt or anything. If he continued to look fine for 2 weeks, I would introduce other fish to him. But after just 3 or 4 days in quarantine, he started getting some pretty severe red marks on his body. Then, once there was a symptom showing illness, I started treating with my medicated goldfish food. He's doing way better now, but because we had that little hiccup, I won't introduce him to other fish for probably another 2 or 3 weeks. So it really takes a lot of patience. Play it by ear, observe closely, take it more of a case-by-case basis. A lot of people ask me what pellets I feed my goldfish. My answer is this, JY Aquarium pellets. They actually just started making these and selling them. They're sinking mini pellets, and I just started using them, but they're great so far. I especially like that all the ingredients are listed on the back. That's kind of cool. Now, although they're sinking pellets, I still soak them before I feed them to my goldfish, but so far they seem to enjoy them. If you want to try these pellets, you can go to jyaquarium.com and use the promo code WCG for a discount.
Hot diggity dog! This place is magnificent!
This is where the magic is happening. The real trick is happening somewhere else.
So I did a bad thing. Remember that fish store I visited a few weeks ago? The one that was closing and had everything for sale? Well, I had a feeling they wouldn't be able to get everything out before their move-out date, and I was right. Because they posted 2 racks with everything for free. And once again, I could not resist. So I rented a U-Haul and went and picked it all up. These tanks were saltwater, so they need a lot of cleanup. And these racks are so huge, they won't even fit in my house. All these extra filters and lights. I have no room for it, honestly. But I love fixing stuff up. So my plan is to paint and polish it all up real nice and resell it. So I will slowly be working on that once it stops raining outside. I've got a serious problem. One of my fish is missing. Normally, Mr. Pom Pom and Bagel are in this tank, but I can't find Bagel. But I think I know where he is. I think he buried himself in these plants. So we need to conduct a rescue mission. I need to drain the water down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and use this opportunity to take out a bunch of plants and put them in other tanks to hopefully give them some more swimming room so this doesn't happen again. Now we can go digging for Bagel. I really have no idea how he buried himself so deep in these plants. Sadly, I think he's been trapped in these plants for at least a day. Now that he's rescued, we can get a closer look at him, and I'll be honest, he does not look so good. Looks like he tore up his fins from struggling in the plants. He also probably didn't get any food where he was trapped. Poor little Bagel's all tore up. We're going to do our best to get him back to good health. This is a good reminder to keep my plants well trimmed so they don't get trapped again. Remember when Bagel got trapped behind these plants? I had to go in and rescue him. Well, he has not been recovering well since then. That really tore him up. Been lethargic on the sand for days now. And I think the humane thing at this point is to euthanize him. Pom Pom, this is a serious moment. Quit begging for attention. So it's time to break out the clove oil and give Bagel some peace. He was a good boy. And now he will help fertilize my peach tree. So this is the rack I got for free. I'm standing next to it so you can see how big it is. I'm 6 feet tall for reference. Let's go over everything I need to fix on it. There's obviously a lot of odds and ends, random sticky things that need to be peeled off. There's this interesting lighting system and outlet system that's all wired to it, but it's all just too old and rusty to use. The whole thing needs to be sanded and repainted with some Rust-Oleum. There's also all these odd plastic bracket pieces that I think were to keep more lights and filters in place, but we're going to ditch all of that. We are going to keep these cool little doors. The tank sits there and you can open this up to do maintenance on it. So I like these little doors. They're worth keeping for sure. But I will still sand them down and give them a good painting. The outlet system on the rack was good at one time, but all of it's just in too bad shape to keep. I was asking myself if it really needs to be this tall because the top tank sits here, so I could cut it off there or even up here if I really wanted to, but I'm not sure I want to do that. That would simplify them, but also limit what someone could do with them later. They're also very heavy. Time to strip off all the garbage I'm not keeping from these 2 aquarium racks. I'll just let you enjoy the noise and I'll have a little more to say at the end. Will need to replace these feet, but I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. But that's all stripped down for now. I'm going to keep these pieces to put back on, and that is all the garbage I took off of these racks. A lot more to do, but it's better already. So I decided I had to cut off the legs from my racks, because I absolutely could not figure out how to get them out. And they're so rusty, I'd hate for one of them to snap when it's all filled up, but I'm not sure what to replace the feet with. Should I drill new pilot holes and screw in a similar little foot, or just leave it a flat bottom? I'm open to suggestions. What's happening, everybody? We have some pretty good green carpet algae growing. This is so exciting. I think 2 key things have really started this change. First, I got a really special LED light, super strong, remote controlled and everything. Got it for free from that fish store that was closing. And secondly, I've been using a sponge to wipe off the brown algae as it grows to let the green algae grow more. And if I keep that up, I think we're going to have some pretty good carpet algae growing soon. It's looking good already, but the green really needs to take over and get rid of the last of that brown. Every time I'm in Whole Foods, I walk over to the seafood section, and I wonder how hard it would be to retrofit this to be used for goldfish or plants in an aquarium store. Those are my shower thoughts. It's finally a little sunny today, so I can do some maintenance on my pond. First, I use a melamine sponge to scrub off all the algae so I can see the fish better. I also cleaned out the filter and found a really fun way to agitate the water to get all the gunk out. I mixed it up like this while siphoning out debris and filling it up with fresh water at the same time. And it was very fun. Highly recommend. There's no fish in those tanks, by the way. That's all clean and the filter should clear up the water by tomorrow. I'm also looking at replacing these little lights. I got this very large light from that fish store closing, so I'll post a video how this looks at night once it clears up. So it's time to find out how this new light looks on my pond at nighttime. Switch to night mode. Oh yeah, that is good stuff. I have it hooked up to a remote actually, so I can turn it on and off very easily. I usually always leave it off at night unless I'm actually outside looking at the pond.
I'd like to direct your attention to the screen for a short video if you don't mind. With that, I yield back.
I walked up to the tank a little too fast and startled Snowball, but when she swam away, I discovered something interesting. She let out a bunch of eggs. So now her official title is Lady Snowball.
You sure about that? You sure about that? You sure about that?
The carpet algae is growing really well now, and it started growing better when I put more water movement from my little propeller. But now I just noticed today where the propeller's pointed, it's not growing as well. So I'm going to shut it off and see if it grows better in that middle area. I don't know how you saltwater people do it. I got all these canister filters for free with that rack I got, and I decided to clean it all out. First, all the tubing I put with white vinegar in the bathtub. Then I thought I'd just rinse all the media and sponge in the canisters, but I cannot describe to you how bad they smelled. I was near gagging the whole time cleaning these out. I'm still torn between putting these filters back together and selling them, or just giving them to whoever buys the rack, or keeping the filter media and just giving the canisters themselves to somebody else. But either way, I gave everything a pretty good rinse. I think I'll need to use a lot more white vinegar and give them a good soaking. But yeah, this stuff stank. None of my freshwater stuff has ever smelled as bad as this stuff did. So I think I have a name for this pom-pom goldfish finally. Someone on my YouTube channel suggested Fluffy, and I think that's pretty good. So from this day forth, this pom-pom goldfish shall be named Fluffy, for obvious reasons. Also, I've only had Fluffy maybe a month, and she has already gotten significantly fatter. I don't know if you can tell, but that tummy is certainly rounding out. She is very hungry. I feed her quite a bit. She devours it and poops up a storm. She's currently alone in this planted tank, but now that Lady Snowball's done with quarantine, I'm thinking of putting them together. Maybe. We'll just have to see. Just a little update on Lady Snowball. She is a great example of why it's important to quarantine new fish. When I bought her and put her in quarantine about 4 weeks ago, she looked perfectly fine. No signs of illness whatsoever. But over the course of the first week, she developed some pretty bad red marks all over her body and fins. Now, I'm not 100% sure what it was, but I added salt to the tank and increased my water changes, and within a few days, it cleared up. But because of that, I extended the quarantine longer. And sure enough, 4 or 5 days after that, ick appeared. So then I gave treatment for that too. I think it just goes to show the importance of quarantine procedure, not rushing the process, but taking your time so that you protect the fish that you already have that you care about. Lady Snowball's doing much better now. Hopefully she'll have some friends soon. So Lady Snowball's doing something funny. Whenever she gets hungry, she's pulling this plant into the water. This is like the 4th or 5th time that I've walked in here and she pulled the plants in. So then I feed her and she's happy again. But I'm inadvertently teaching her to pull the plants in the water when she's hungry. I don't know, kind of a cute trick. I think I'll let her do it. My carpet algae was finally growing perfect, and then I messed it up. It was growing long and green just how I wanted, but then I decided to turn the propeller on for more water movement, and for some reason it instantly made it turn more brown and short. The extra water movement was a bad idea. I shouldn't have changed anything when it was working well. So, it's time for hopefully the final scrape before the proper carpet algae. Now this is the most satisfying it's been to scrape because it's like so thick. It's so thick that the goldfish even had a hard time eating the big chunks of it, but it was still a feeding frenzy. I'm gonna clean up the whole tank, all the algae off of the sides and the back, and squeeze out the filter and everything, and then I think after this it will grow just how I want. Also, a lot of people ask me, how do I get all the algae out after I scrape it? Well, I just do a water change, and it's really fun to watch go up the siphon. I could watch it all day, it's hilarious. Then it just goes down the sink. So I finished the water change, and it should clear up and start growing by tomorrow, hopefully.
You don't want to be like this. This is disgusting. This is awful in every way. If I could kill it, I would. But I legally can't. But I've considered it.
Normally for water changes, I just put the used water down the sink. I prefer putting it on the lawn, but it's not like the lawn needs water in the wintertime. And when I did try that in the wintertime, it just let all the heat out of my house and I tracked a bunch of pine needles inside. But now it's springtime, the rain will stop soon, and I want to use my fish water to water all my plants and fruit trees. To do that, I'm going to attach all my extra tubing together and put a water pump on one end. This made it plenty long for all my watering needs. I also put a filter sock over the pump to make sure no goldfish get injured by it. Now my goal is for this to drain in 5 to 10 minutes, but 10 minutes in it was only half empty. So this was a good test run. I just need to see if I have a different pump laying around here somewhere. I also want to look for a garden hose wand to attach to the other end for watering. All right, I'm gonna try something else to clean up all these filters. I'm gonna soak them in water and white vinegar and see if that cleans them up.
Welcome to our twisted family.
Thanks. This is the best day of my life. I'm killing myself tomorrow.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to say I had an update for the racks, but we're having just the most lovely spring here in Seattle. I haven't been able to work outside on it because I need it to be dry. But at least my goldfish in my pond are getting a lot of fresh water. So I think I finally have a name for this hungry little orange goldfish. Peach, in honor of that Peaches song that's been going around. I was considering naming this goldfish Peaches for obvious reasons, but I decided on Fluffy for this goldfish, but I still wanted to use the name Peaches. So instead, this little orange cutie will be named Peaches, or just Peach. I got Peach as a rescue from someone who couldn't keep him or her, and the last owner insisted that Peaches is a single tail fantail, which is interesting. We will find out for sure. Because if Peaches grows long and skinny, then she's just a regular comic goldfish. But if she gets round and plump, then we know she is in fact a single-tail fantail. So it'll be really interesting to see how Peaches grows. I imagine she will double or triple in size this summer. So I was brainstorming up a way to hide all of my yard tools over here. Because let's be honest, it mars the view of the pond. Now sure, I could probably clean it up a little more, but it's mostly yard tools and stuff that I can't really put somewhere else. And I remembered I have this nice potted ivy with a trellis. It looks all brown because it doesn't really get water in this spot under the eaves. But no longer, now it will live here and it'll get lots of water and hopefully it'll grow all on the trellis and hopefully make the view of the pond a little more aesthetic. So I got out my little contraption I'm working on to use tank and pond water for my garden, and I started to use it on this. I'm sure it'll love this tasty, tasty pond water. Okay, I'm sick of this planted goldfish tank. It's just kind of a mess. There's just a bunch of mismatched sand and mismatched plants, so I'd like to redo it. Started by gathering all the different types of plants and kind of organizing them and deciding what I wanted to keep in the tank. Now, I wouldn't call myself an aquascaper. I'm still learning what looks good, but I'm gonna do my best. There's the tank completely cleaned out. We are switching to black sand, and we're going with kind of a terracotta pot theme. Something I didn't like about the tank before is all the different types of plants kind of melded together, and I couldn't tell what was what. So I'm gonna do one type of plant per pot. I also am gonna like half bury a couple pieces of driftwood that I have because, I don't know, for fun. We'll see if it looks good. I proceeded to scoop sand like a bear. Why did I do this inside? I don't know. I got sand everywhere. I had to vacuum so much, but I mean, it was kind of fun. And then I'll fill it up. You'll have to come back for the full reveal. It is time. The pollen is arriving and the rain is slowing down here in Seattle. If you don't remember, I have a downspout filter that puts rainwater from my roof into my pond. This will be my first summer with it hooked up. I don't want it pointed toward my pond in the summertime because there's gonna be so much dust and pollen on the roof that if it does rain every so often this summer, I don't want it just washing all that dirt and pollen straight into my pond. So I managed to turn it over to my potted plant here, and so any morning dew or showers will just water this plant. And I'll leave it like this till the rain is back regularly. Okay, so once again, we're redoing the pond filter. Right now, it's just kind of a bunch of sponge I threw together. There's no real organization to this. But no longer, I have this bucket and I have a bunch of media from all those tanks I got, and I'm gonna use this bucket as the filter. The pump will go in the middle. Wow, that's a holy bucket. And I'll have different media layered in. So I put some of that stuff at the bottom, some fabric, the pump, bio balls on top of that, and then more pond filter fabric, and then more fabric, and then I have this lid that I put a couple holes in so it fits on real nice. And bada bing bada boom, we have a new pond filter. My pond pump is wearing out. It still works, but it's not working well. But it's a Harbor Freight one with a good warranty, so I'll just replace it. Okay, so I decided to redo this planted fancy goldfish tank, and here is the finished result. I changed the substrate to black sand. I wanted the plants to be a bit more organized and neat. I look forward to seeing how it looks in a few months when all the plants have grown. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. So when I got these 3 orandas, they were all about the same size. But it's clear one of them is not as big as the other 2. We have a runt on our hands. I don't have a name for these 3 yet, but I'd like to give the small one a chance to grow bigger and actually get food. So I'm going to move him to my newly rescaped tank with my plants and terracotta pots. So after drip acclimating him, look at him, all alone in this paradise. Hopefully this space will give him what he needs to grow and catch up with the others. It also reduces the nutrients in my carpet algae tank. I'm hoping that makes a slight difference in how it grows. So hopefully it benefits both these tanks. So I got a new pond pump for my little watering thing I'm working on. It's supposed to pump 550 gallons per hour. It still looks a little weak to me, but we're gonna try it out and see if I can water my garden using it while I do water changes. And it turns out the pressure is actually way better than last time. This is actually good enough to go around watering stuff. So then the question is, how long do I have to drain the tank and water everything? So we start the timer and it turns out I have 20 minutes, which is a little slower than I wanted, but really I just need to relax because it's okay. It gives me more time to water everything outside. This will be a great way to conserve water in the summertime, because otherwise I'd be using twice as much water watering everything outside and doing water changes inside. When you have a hobby you invest way too much time in, you start to get overly excited when you see even the smallest reference to it in day-to-day life. Like, ooh, my game said goldfish. I gotta tell somebody about this. Then you remember it's not really worth telling anyone because it's just not that interesting. But hey, it's still worth those extra endorphins. It's finally been dry enough to do some work on the racks. So first off, I'm using this metal prep stuff to start getting rid of the rust. I painted on all of the rust spots and I left it for a couple days. Then I took my wire brush and my drill and started trying to break down some of that rust, which was a real pain and a real workout because there's a lot of different surfaces on these huge racks. Now, although there was a lot of rust and a lot of paint chipping, none of the rust was deep enough to be worried about the strength of the rack, thankfully. But there was just a lot to clean up. Then I started to use my grinder to get off some of the worst rust spots. By this point, I'm still having fun. And I'm savoring that because by the end of this project, I was pretty done. This was a lot of work over several days. Then I sprayed all the rust spots with Rust-Oleum rust neutralizing paint. I gave all the rust spots actually like 2 or 3 coats. Then it was time to start putting things together that had fallen off, like some plastic trim and a couple other little pieces that broke. I also opened up the mechanisms for the doors and cleaned them. I spotted something that looked like an animal out by my pond this morning, so I went to investigate. I'm like, oh no, is that a rat? What is that? Wait a second, it's a sweet little baby bunny. So then it became my mission for the day to get better videos of him. If I stayed really quiet, the bunny would actually come out from under the deck and start munching on the grass. And so I sat and waited for him to come out again. And it was totally worth it. Look at this cutie. I think I saw a couple others in my yard, different places too, so I'm happy to know that there's a family jumping around. They're super cute, and I'm really glad that there's a safe space for them to live under the deck. Look at them munching the delicious grass. What a good boy. The perfect water changing system has not been sold yet, in my opinion. I use the Python and it's really good, but there are several improvements I would make to it. One of them being this quick connect thing I'm adding right now. This makes it a lot easier so I don't have to unscrew it and screw it back in every time I want to wash my hands in my sink. Because, you know, this is a bathroom. It needs to work as a bathroom. And I need to easily take off the Python when I need to. So adding this little quick connect thing, I mean, it was cheap, like $6, is a really huge improvement on this system. Let me know if you make or sell water changers because I have a few good ideas to improve these.
This right here is my favorite thing ever. In the history of forever. I think about this every day. I think about this all night long. I stay awake, not sleeping, because I'm thinking about this.
Is it an addiction?
Is it an addiction? No, I think it's an addiction. I think it does put me, like, it makes me happy, but no, it's not an addiction.
So my warranty replacement for my pond pump finally came. Don't get me wrong, I love Harbor Freight's warranty plan. It means I can just replace the pump every year, but it's kind of inconvenient. You have to fill out a whole online thing and it took forever to ship, but I got a new one, that's all that matters. So now it's just a matter of taking apart my filter box and putting the new pump in. I feel like I forgot how much I enjoy working out here on the pond in the summertime. It's good for me to notice this and remember it now because when the wintertime comes, it's really hard to do maintenance on the pond because it's so wet and cold outside. It's really difficult and it's not that enjoyable. And I don't get to feed the fish in the wintertime, so it's all this stuff that makes it kind of not fun. But yes, I remember, the summertime makes it all worth it. A nice day like today out here putting my hands in the water is really refreshing. The fish are happy and getting fat by the day and it's just great. So I got to put it all back together and we'll see if the water flow improves a little bit. So here is the before flow and the after. It's a subtle difference. There's new fish in my guppy tank. They're so small I hardly spotted them, but I finally have baby guppies. Guppies are known as breeding really easy in the aquarium hobby. So when I set up this tank, I was excited for them to crossbreed and make new colors, and finally they're having babies for the first time. I had this tank set up a little over 6 months, and I honestly thought they'd breed sooner, but here we go, first batch of babies. So now I feel good that they're happy and living a good life in this tank. My next mission for this tank is to try to see if I can get the shrimp to breed, one step at a time. I have to go buy another starting batch of shrimp for that to happen. So I found my watering can with a bunch of baby spiders on it, and I thought if I dipped it in my pond, my goldfish would eat them. But dipping it in the water was apparently too scary for my goldfish, so they actually avoided the spiders, and now there's just spiders in my pond. Mission failed successfully. Okay, so the first rack is done, which means I have to start here on the second one. So I started out by putting some pieces back on that I had taken off earlier, after getting the rust off from those spots, of course. And then just like the last one, I'll use my rust neutralizing treatment, rust neutralizing paint, and then normal paint on top of that. I pretty much stopped recording at this point because it was a lot of work, pretty difficult, but I did finish both racks. They are now ready to sell. I'm not super happy with the paint finish. It came out splotchy for some reason, but they are sure better than before. They're now actually usable, so now I can try to sell them. So this week my wife found this awesome goldfish bowl for me at Goodwill. She was very excited and she sent me a picture of it and I was like, yeah, I definitely want that. I thought it could be a cool small planted shrimp tank. But then on the drive home, she thought she secured it pretty well, but a grandma cut her off in traffic and she had to slam on her brakes and then it broke. So I'm debating whether to try to glue it and put plants in it or maybe just throw it away, I don't know. The lesson is, beware of old people on the road. Yes, I decided to try to repair this cool goldfish bowl I found at Goodwill. I'm like, it's already broken, what's the worst that could happen? I'm gonna try to make it nice, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I'm gonna try to do kintsugi, which is a Japanese style of repairing pottery and glass, where you use epoxy and gold powder to put the piece back together, and it leaves interesting gold lines where the piece was broken. I've never done this before, so I was going to give it my best shot, and it all seemed to be going so well, but every time I tried to put it back together, it would squish out all the gold, and I would wipe it away. It just didn't look like other kintsugi pieces I've seen. After wiping it out and retrying it several times, even with silicone once or twice, I decided that this sadly wasn't going to work. It wasn't turning out how I wanted, so we're going a different route. I'm using super glue to just put the pieces of glass back together, and then I'm going to try my hand at painting more plants on the broken area. Try to match the style of the plants already on the bowl and see if that looks a little better. Stay tuned for that.
Oh, no, I was going to listen to that, but then I just carried on living my life.
I know people want updates on the carpet algae, but it's hard to make them when there's not much new to report. I'm once again scraping it all to try again. I'm still adjusting little things to see if it works better. I took 2 of the fish out and just left blubbles to see if the cleaner water helps it be more green. And I didn't realize my light wasn't turned up all the way, so now it's at full brightness, and blubbles help me clean up the algae again. So I received a gift in the mail today from Wen Goldfish. They're a goldfish importer here in the US. They just recently launched their website and they messaged me asking if they could send me a gift. And I said, yeah, sure, why not? Well, I went with a male calico ranchu because I have a female calico ranchu, hoping to breed them. Now, I think the shipping on this fish was pretty rough. The FedEx guy really plopped it on my porch. So the fish is a little stressed, but I'm going to add a little salt to the tank. And it really is a cute ranchu. I'm really happy with it. Hopefully it starts to feel better in a few days. I will put it in quarantine for a few weeks. It's nothing personal. I just do that with all new fish. There really aren't that many good goldfish importers here in the US. So definitely check out their website. They got some interesting stuff on there. Thank you again, Wen Goldfish, for sending this to me. So the second to worst thing happened to my pond today. I found a dead bird in my pond just floating there. This can transfer diseases and parasites into the water. I hope it wasn't in here too long. I'm pretty unhappy with this. So I'll be watching my fish closely and I might dose the water with anti-parasite meds. Why does my pond look a little foggy in a lot of my videos? This is a great question because it's true, it does look pretty foggy a lot of times. But it's a really simple answer. This acrylic tank is super scratched up. That's because this tank is old and well used. I got it for free on OfferUp and I think it's more than 10 years old. So I'm really not complaining. I'm very happy I have it. So that's why I film and live stream from this end because it's a lot clearer. There's less scratches. You can also see the water's clear by looking down from the top. So I hope that explains it, and if you ever want to just watch my goldfish, I'm trying to stream on Kick a lot, so you can check them out there. Okay, part 3 of trying to fix this goldfish bowl. I was trying to do kintsugi, and it wasn't working out so well. I got so many suggestions on my last video. Some were good, some were not so good. I tried to read all of them and did the best I could here. I thought maybe I could layer in the gold epoxy and then put the glass pieces back together, but that made the pieces really not fit, so that wasn't gonna work. So I settled on just gluing all the glass pieces back on and then trying to epoxy the seams. And let me tell you, I wasted a lot of time on this project. It seemed like no matter how long I waited for the epoxy to harden before putting it on, it still dripped and smeared everywhere. I swear I wiped it away and retried it like 4 times, and I started to get pretty frustrated. Normally I would enjoy an art project like this, but with my main hobby being fish keeping, this was taking so much time away, it was stressing me. So I just tried to wrap it up best I could, and here it is. Look, I know the whole point of kintsugi is embracing the imperfections, but this looks so bad, so I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I don't even know if I'm gonna keep it. We'll see. I tried something new and I enjoyed most of it, so it wasn't a waste.
This is your sign to clean out and go through your fish keeping supplies. You'll feel better when it's organized, and who knows what you'll find.
Oh, no, hang on. I've just realised.
What?
I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Reminder to always walk every aisle when you visit the fish store. You never know what you'll find.
This is crazy interesting. This guy is using his pet mink to fish, and it catches this massive goldfish. Now it's true, I'm a goldfish lover, but I definitely support this. Goldfish are super invasive in public waterways. This is also a good reminder for how big goldfish can get. But yeah, if you ever catch a goldfish in a public waterway, don't release it.
It's time to make some changes. I've been trying to get rid of these 2 metal stock tanks for a while and replace it with one big one. And we're finally getting to it. I found this large Rubbermaid 300 gallon on OfferUp for a killer deal. So my plan is to get rid of these 2 metal ones and put in the Rubbermaid one. It's gonna take a little work though, of course. I have to dig up and move this plum tree, and it'll also take a little work to level out this area. This is about where I broke the shovel and went and got my trusty metal Gorilla Bar instead. I'm pretty notorious for breaking shovels. I used the hose to wet the ground to make everything just a little softer, but for some reason it attracted a bunch of bees. So I kept having to work around a bunch of bees. I already got stung once this week. I wasn't trying to make it a second time, but I managed to level it all out pretty good with some extra sand and gypsum I had. And then I topped it with some extra dirt and wood chips. I watered it down so it settled a little and stomped on it a little bit to make sure there were not going to be any spots that really sunk down. And finally I got to drag it in place after that. There actually used to be a hot tub right here, so it's kind of the perfect shape for the pond. So now that I have the pond in place, I took a look and realized oh, the acrylic tank needs to be a little higher. So we're gonna raise it up so that the outlet can pour into the pond easier. So to raise the acrylic tank, I need to empty it. So I'm gonna put some water in the new pond, put all the fish in there, and then raise the acrylic tank up. So that took a while on its own, of course. But I got all the fish in there, finished straining the acrylic tank, and now I could finally put some blocks under it. Now the acrylic tank already has plywood and foam under it, so I'm not too worried about only putting 4 blocks under it. It should be well supported. But now that that tank is raised up, I have to actually drag the pond under the outlet. Of course, it's too heavy to drag over with all the water I put in, so now I have to let some out in order to move it. Thank you to my trusty work toms. But after that, everything's back in place. I can fill it all back up. I clean the acrylic tank, and I actually got this done at the perfect time because it was just starting to get dark out by the end. The baby guppies are doing good. They're growing slow, but they're getting there, starting to get some color already. And I believe there's already a new batch of baby guppies too, because I spotted a group of really small ones again. For those guppy breeders out there, how do you decide who to cull? Is it just based on crooked spines, or do you cull for body shape and color too? Because before I know it, I think I'm going to have a lot of guppies on my hands. Got a gift in the mail today from Jimmy Goldfish. They sent me 2 of their goldfish pellets to try. First, this gas release formula. I'm really interested in seeing how this works on Breadstick, my fish that's always had swim bladder problems. And they also sent me their regular growth formula. I'm interested in seeing how the goldfish like these pellets and how the growth is compared to other foods. So they're going to be eating good for a while. Welcome back to WestCoastGoldies. Today we are counting down my top 10 most viewed videos across all my platforms. At number 10 with 3 million views on TikTok, we have my video here where I decided to breed a couple fish together. And I made a big mistake. I used the word mutts in this video when I was talking about breeding these 2 different types of goldfish. And TikTok pushed this video to a lot of dog people, dog breeders, because that's who usually use the word mutts. And that ended up being kind of a bad thing because a lot of people, apparently I didn't know, a lot of dog people really hate mutts. And so, but breeding goldfish, 2 different types together, is totally not the same as breeding dogs. So I got a lot of angry people in the comments on this video. I think I blocked the most people off of this video than any of my other videos. Just because if you bring in that kind of negativity to my page, I don't want you to come back. So that was an interesting one. At number 9, we have this algae scraping video with 3.1 million views on TikTok. And honestly, this video makes me sad because that was the greenest the algae had ever been. It made really satisfying pieces of algae, but I have not gotten it that green again since. I'm still wondering if I should keep messing around with the water movement with that little propeller. I do have a bigger plan in mind with this algae growing series. There is a reason I'm doing it. It's not gonna happen until it actually grows the color I want. At number 8 with 3.2 million views is my video I did trying to repair that goldfish bowl. It really didn't go well. You know, I obviously never done it before, and I'm not doing it the traditional way. So a lot of people were just interested in the process of trying to fix it. A lot of people made suggestions. Some of them were not helpful, some of them were. This was a frustrating video to make because it took so long to film, because I tried to work on it for hours and it just never turned out. But at least a generally positive response from this video. At number 7 with 3.8 million views on TikTok, we have the first video where I decide to get the green spotted puffers and try to set up that tank. It was also a generally positive video. It was really funny how many people didn't know what brackish was. Brackish is like fresh water with only a little salt in it, and people were like, oh, that's saltwater. I'm like, no, it's not saltwater, it's brackish. And although the green spotted puffer series didn't end up working out because they didn't live, it was really fun to set up this tank and try brackish, try something different a little bit. At number 6, with 4.4 million views on TikTok, we have me using the Gillette razor on the carpet algae. Gillette made that comment on my page months ago, and I knew I wanted to do this, but I just didn't get around to it because, you know, get busy. Once again, it's a generally positive comment section, thankfully, but a lot of people are like, oh, I hope they sponsored you for this. Like, what makes you think I would accept a sponsorship from them in the first place? Think about that for a second. Well, I already had one. I didn't even have to go out and buy one. I used it for this quick video. I'm sure Gillette is happy. It's a win-win, and it's really fun to watch. At number 5, with 4.5 million views, is this video of me putting an extra piece on a pipe to help my pond water. This was my first viral video, I think, so it's the first time I experienced what it's like to actually have a viral video, which is that so many people see this 30 seconds of your life that they examine it and give their weird opinion. It was the discovery of how weird it is to get suggestions, because people give suggestions on projects I've already finished. I don't know, it was a fun little project. Turned out good. At number 4, with 6.2 million views on Instagram, we have my snail jumping off of the water changer when I was putting it in the tank. It's really funny that this video did so well on Instagram, but not too well on TikTok, and certainly not well on YouTube. And I can't tell you how often I try to catch him doing this again, and he only does it very rarely, but this attempt was very easy to film, and I'm happy with how it turned out. At number 3, with 9.6 million views on Instagram, this short, low-effort video I took of this bottle at Costco. It still blows my mind that this went viral. I saw it, thought it was interesting, and took a quick shot of it. At number 2, with 11.6 million views on TikTok, is this short video of me doing a water change while holding my newborn son. I think this video has the cute factor, and my pond wasn't quite ready, so all my fish were in the tank, which made it more interesting to look at, paired with a trending sound, and it just did really well. Before we reveal the number 1 spot, just an honorable mention to my most viewed YouTube video with a whopping 9,000 views. It's funny how things don't translate over there, and how videos that go viral on TikTok and Instagram don't go viral on YouTube. It's very weird. But in the number 1 spot, with 12.9 million views on TikTok, we have scraping the brown carpet algae. This was when it was coming back brown every single time. I think these are just really good clips of scraping the algae. And Blubbles comes in at the end and slurps up a few pieces. That's extra cute. But I'm also a little surprised that such a simple video that took, you know, almost no effort is my most viral one, most viewed one, compared to other videos I put a lot more work into that end up getting seen by like nobody.
Quite a few times.
50 times?
More.
100 times?
More.
200 times?
More.
500 times?
Probably.
I gotta figure out how to make money on this thing. It's simply too good. Gotta figure out how to make money on this. I really want to.
Once again, my wife found something super cool goldfish themed at Value Village. And this time, it survived the drive home. I honestly can't believe she found this. $5 each. I think they're ceramic, and they're very clearly Oranda fancy goldfish. So I gave them a little cleaning in the sink, but now I'm faced with a decision. Do I leave them how they are? Or do I try to paint them? Or do I try to dye them with something? Lately, I've been dyeing a lot of my clothes with coffee, but I don't know if that would work. And you know, they just look really good white too. Let me know in the comments. Should I leave them white or do something to color them up? People always tell me that they could never keep fish because you just don't feel as close with it as you would a dog or cat. And honestly, I don't know what they're talking about. I feel plenty close with my fish.